Hello friends, my name is BK Kolhapure. Today we will deal with the topic on elastic stability of columns and struts. So we are handling here columns, their analysis and designing. So here columns are nothing but the vertical members of a building which are subjected to compressive load. So columns are always vertical like this and they will be taking the load, so they are subjected to compressive force. The length of the column is very large compared to the lateral dimension. So this is a column. Now here we come across some of the important topics or definitions which you are supposed to know. Suppose if I take a column, if I support at both the ends here, it has got some cross section, either rectangle or square or any type of cross section it will be having. It has got a length here. So we come across two terms of length. One is the actual length of the column and second is we call it as the effective length of the column. So here you are supposed to know what is the effective length. Effective length of column is nothing but the actual length of the column with the both the ends of the column as hinged. So this is hinge and this is also hinged. When both the ends of the columns are hinged, we call the length of the column is the effective length of the column. So here the definition of effective length is effective length of a column is equal to the actual length of the column with both the ends of the columns as hinged. So this is the definition of effective length. We come across another term known as radius of gyration. Radius of gyration, we abbreviate it as K. So this is defined by under root I by A. So radius of gyration is K is given by under root I by A. Likewise, we have got another definition here, slenderness ratio. Slenderness ratio, we abbreviate it by lambda. So this slenderness ratio is given by L divided by K, where L is the effective length of the column. So these are the basic definitions you are supposed to know whenever you go for column. Effective length, radius of gyration and slenderness ratio. The slenderness ratio play a very important role in designing of the columns. So now here we come across in practice different classification of columns, or we can call it as types of columns. So there are three types of column. One is the short column. We say the column is short when by L by K is less than 32. That is the slenderness ratio L by K is less than 32 and L by D is greater than less than 8, where L is the effective span and D is the least lateral dimension. Suppose if it is a rectangle, this is B and this D. Which is the least dimension? B is the least dimension. So least dimension of the column. So when it is the case, we call the column as a short column. The second category is long columns. We say the columns are long when L by K is greater than 32. So 120 and L by D if it is greater than 30. We call the columns as long column and short column. See, for example, if I draw a column like this is a long column. If I draw a column like this is a short column. Long column and short column. Now here these are the conditions for short column and long column. If you see to both the columns, if I take a very long column and if I subject it to loading, it will bend rather than getting crushed. Whereas if I take a small column, if I try to compress it, it is very difficult for it to bend, but it can easily crush it. So the failure of short column is due to crushing, compressive load, and the long column they will fail due to buckling, or we also call it as bending. long columns will fail due to bending. In between, we have got another category, what we call as medium columns. Medium columns. So here definitely L by K should be less than 32 and greater than 1 and less than 120. We call them as medium column, and L by D should be more than 8 and less than 30. We call such columns as medium columns. So in practice, we come across medium type of columns. So medium type of column, they will be failing due to the combined effect of crushing as well as bending. So these are the three categories of columns that will be coming across. Now there is some theory put forward to analyze the column, to decide the long column, short column, and to know how much load the columns are going to take. Now here, suppose if I take a simply supported beam and if I support it at the ends, if it is carrying the load, so how the beam is going to bend? It is going to bend like this. This we call it as deflection. So this Y is deflection. Y is deflection. Why it is deflecting? It is deflecting because of the load. Now if you see at the supports, if I draw a line tangent here, there is a slope here theta at A as A, there will be slope theta at B. So you find there is slope at A and B. Suppose if I take a column with both the ends as hinged and if I subject it to loads P and P, then let's see what is going to happen to this. Suppose if I take a column, if I hinge it, you know hinge, you can freely rotate it. So here if I hinge it and if I bend it, it is going to bend here like this. If you see at the supports, they are bending like it is bending here, simply supported. So there will be rotation. So here in case of hinged ends, deflection is not there. It is not moving. Deflection is not there, but theta is not equal to 0 because it will rotate like this. You find there is a slope here, there is a slope here. So at a hinge, you see that deflection is 0 and theta is 0. If I take a cantilever beam, you know cantilever beam is fixed at one end and free at the other end. I will hold it here firmly. If I bend it, if I apply load here, it is going to bend. Now you see here, it is rotating here. So slope is here. It is moving down. Deflection is here. But if you see to this end, it is remaining straight. So whenever the end is fixed, there is no deflection and there is no rotation. In hinge, there will be rotation. Suppose if I show it here, the fixed end, this is a cantilever, for example, if it is taking a load of W, so how will the beam bending? It will be bending like this. So this part we call it as deflection. But if you see here tangent, if you draw, this theta value is 0 and there is no deflection at the fixed end. So at the fixed end, remember, slope is 0, theta is 0. Theta is nothing but we call it as dy by dx. That is nothing but the slope. So here also dy by dx, it is not equal to 0. So hinge, deflection is 0, slope is not 0. Fixed, both slope and deflection are 0. So this is the point you'll have to remember for analyzing of the columns, because we get different conditions here, hinged or free or fixed. So now coming to a important theorem, what you call it as Euler's theory. For long columns. Euler's theory for long columns. So Euler had developed a formula to find out the crushing load or the buckling load, how much maximum load it can take before it fails. So that is the purpose what we need to do here. He had derived the formula based upon some assumptions, like the material is homogeneous, isotropic, and it will obey the Hooke's law, that is stress is proportional to the strain, that is it is within elastic limit. So the column is elastic, obeys Hooke's law, it is homogeneous and isotropic. One, the length of the column is very large compared to the lateral dimensions. Third, the columns are perfectly straight. There is no curvature in the column in the analysis. So they are perfectly straight. Then the self-weight of the column is neglected compared to the weight that it is going to take. The weights that it will take will be very high, so we neglect the self-weight of the column. So here the failure of the column, since it is long, it will fail due to buckling only. Since the column is very long, the failure of the column will be due to buckling. This is one. Then the Young's modulus will remain same on compression side and compression tension side. So these are some of the assumptions which are made. And another important assumption is the cross section of the column is uniform. If you go on cutting the column, the cross section will remain same throughout from top to bottom. No variation in the cross section. So these are the assumptions. Based upon these assumptions, he has gone for the derivation of the formula for columns with different end conditions. So first we'll begin with columns with both ends hinged. Columns with both the ends hinged. Suppose if I take a column here, here also follows sign convention. Let us see what is that sign convention. See here, the column is going to buckle. When apply the load, it will either buckle like this, in any direction. This is one way of failure or buckling. If I hinge it, it will bend like this. So you are finding there is convexity and concavity. So based upon the convexity and concavity, he has taken the sign convention. Suppose this is the initial position of the column. If it bends like this or if it bends like this, this type of bending we take it as positive. So if this is a column, if it bends like this or if it bends like this, we take the value as negative. Remember, this is sign convention. This type of curvature, so this is convexity on the inner side. Convexity on the inner side is negative, on the outer side it will be positive. Now using this, suppose if I take up a column, suppose this is the initial position of the column, it is hinged here and it is hinged on the other side. It is subjected to load P and P at both top and bottom. Due to this load, the column is going to bend or buckle like this. Let L be the actual length of the column. Now it is deflected like this. So maximum deflection you are finding is at the center. It has deflected from the center like this. It has deflected in this direction towards the right. Now what we'll do, we'll consider a section XX at a distance x from A and let the deflection of the column here be y. So we are taking a column of length L, hinged at both the ends, subjected to load P. It is bending in this direction. Consider a section XX at a distance x from A and let Y be the deflection at that point. Now if I take out this part separately, this is a load acting. This point, if I call it as C, this point is C here, and this deflection is Y. Now here I want to take the moment of the forces about the point C. What is moment? Force into perpendicular distance. So moment at x is given by, there is a derivation, moment is given by the formula EI d2y by dx square. So we see this in the deflection formula. This is a derived formula. Bending moment is given by EI d2y by dx square. This is a differential equation. This is equal to EI d2y by dx square. Dx square is equal to, now what is the bending moment acting at C? This is a load acting here, and the perpendicular distance is y. So moment is force into perpendicular distance. So P into y. How it is bending? And as per the sign convention, what should be the sign? Minus Py. So this, if I write EI d2y by dx square plus Py is equal to 0. So this is the equation what we get, and here the differential equation for this is given by y is equal to c1 cos x root p by ei. This is the differential equation, plus c2 sin x root of p by ei. So this is a theta, cos theta and sin theta. So this is the solution for the differential equation. You will have to remember this. Y is equal to c1 cos x root p by ei plus c2 sin x root p by ei, where c1 and c2 are constants. So you get the solution, that is y is nothing but deflection. You get deflection at any distance x, provided if you know C1 and C2. So to find out C1 and C2, we will be using the end conditions. So we have got a hinge here. We know at hinge deflection is 0. That is, we are measuring from here. When x is 0, y is 0. When x is 0, y is 0. If you substitute in this, sin 0 will be 0. So cos 0 will be 1. So we are left with here C1 will be equal to 0. C1 will be equal to 0. So our equation will be now y is equal to C2 sin x root p by ei, because C1 is 0. Also, if I go to the top end, when x is equal to L, what is deflection again at the hinge? It is 0. So when x is equal to L, y is equal to 0. Now if I substitute this condition here, 0 is equal to C2 sin x root of p by ei. So this x will become L. Now either C2 must be 0 or sin must be 0. C2 cannot be 0 because C1 is 0. If C1, C2 is 0, solution is not possible. So only possibility is this value must be equal to 0. So this sin L root p by ei must be equal to 0. When is sin 0? When sin theta is 0? When theta is equal to sin 0 is 0, then pi, 2 pi, these are the values where sin theta will be 0. So here taking the least practical value, this, so I can write L is equal to root p by ei is equal to pi. If I square it and simplify for P, we get P is equal to pi squared EI by L squared. Pi squared EI by L squared. So here this is a formula which you have to remember. This is for the case where both the ends are hinged, and we have seen the definition. The effective length of the column is equal to the actual length of the column with both the ends hinged. So this L, small l, is nothing but your capital L. This capital L is the effective length of the column. So the load carrying capacity of a column with both the ends of the column hinged is given by pi squared EI by L squared. Pi is a constant, E is the Young's modulus, I is the moment of inertia, and L is the effective length of the span. You can write also EFF. It stands for effective length of the column. Like this, there are 4 end conditions which Euler has given, and he has derived the formula. The basic formula remains the same, only change will be in this effective length. So we will see what are the different end conditions and what are the formulas that you will be using to find out the load there. We will see the different end conditions. End condition. Then we will see the crippling, or we also call it as buckling load. Then this is important, effective length, which we write it as capital L. So here if I take first condition, both ends, we have seen just now, both ends hinged. So in that case, these are the columns hinged at both ends. It is going to bend like this. It is carrying the load at the bottom and at the top. L is the actual length of the column. Now the formula what we have derived is pi squared EI by L squared. This happens to be pi squared EI by capital L squared. We have defined it as effective span. So what is the effective length here? L is equal to the actual length of the column. Small l is the actual length of the column. So second condition, one end fixed and other free. One end is fixed and other end is free. If I fix it here, it is free here, it is taking the load here, it will be bending like this. If this is the case, if L is the actual length of the column, now here the formula which is derived we will be getting as pi squared EI by 4L squared. But our actual formula is pi squared EI by L squared. We are using general formula here. In that case, so L here will be equal to 2L. Means the effective length will be twice of the actual length. So this is second condition. Third condition is both ends fixed. Both ends fixed. If I fix it here and if I fix it here, see it will bend like this, straight, then it will bend like this, then again it will remain straight. If I show it here like this, hinged, we have seen it will bend like this. If it is second case, it is fixed here, and if I apply load, it will bend in this direction. So here slope is 0, deflection is also 0. Third condition is if I held both the ends as fixed, and if I apply the load, see how is the bending here. It is remaining straight here and it is remaining straight here, then it is bending. So that is the case you get when both the ends are fixed. So theta is 0, deflection is 0, theta is 0, deflection is 0. So this is the mode of the bending what you will be getting, which I have shown it here. It will remain straight, then bends, and it will remain straight. So this condition we call it as both the ends fixed. If both the ends are fixed, then the formula is 4 pi squared EI by L square. This if I write it as pi squared EI by L squared, our general formula, this L effective length will be equal to L by 2. If I substitute L is equal to L by 2, I will be getting the same formula. And the last case, fourth case, is one end fixed and other hinged. So if I see that case here, it is fixed at one end and it is hinged at the other end. Hinge, it will rotate, but fixed, it will remain straight. Deflection and slope both are 0. Here deflection is 0, but theta is not 0. In this case, if I show it like this, see how it bends. It is remaining straight here, but it is bending in the other direction because it is a hinged. So in such case, the formula what we will be using is 2 pi squared EI by L squared. So this I write it as general formula pi squared EI by effective square. So here effective length will be equal to L by root 2. Now this table is very important for you to remember. First is the sequence of end conditions. Both ends hinged, one fixed, other free. Both ends fixed, one fixed, other hinged. Both, 1. So both are hinged, both are fixed. One is fixed, another is free. One is fixed and another is hinged. So this sequence of columns you try to remember. If you remember this general formula will remain same for all the categories. Only change will be in the effective span. So next thing you will have to remember is L to L, L by 2, L by root 2. So remember the end conditions, remember that effective length. You can solve the problems by using just one formula here. So both ends hinged, L is equal to L. One end fixed, other free, L is equal to 2L. Both ends fixed, L is equal to L by 2. One end fixed, other end hinged, L will be equal to L by root 2. So L to L, L by 2, L by root 2. Remember that sequence and this formula. So based upon this, we can take a problem. So other derivations, they are available in my video notes. You can follow them. So we'll go with the problems with this theoretical background. So this is today's video. Please subscribe the channel for more videos. Then press the bell icon for notifications. Comment for questions in the question section. Thank you.